Hey YouTube, Composing Gloves here. Today I'm going to show you how to make this cool pluck sound. It's very versatile, allows you to do several things because of the macro controls, which are down here. So I do have a small track kind of demoing it. The only things in this track are this preset and this preset with a whole bunch of different versions of the macro moving around, creating a cool track, very versatile track. Versatile is just the word of the day. There are a few other sounds. The kick and additional percussive sounds are from my sample pack machines. Go to composinggloves.com if you're interested in that. And I'll play the track for you while I'm bringing it up. Just so you know, there is a free patch. There's a free, preset. There's a preset in the description for download in case that's what you're here for, or if you'd like to get it to compare as you make it so you can get better at sound design. So here's the track. I'm only going to play a little bit of it. So there you have it. It was the bass chords, pretty much everything except for the kick, and I don't know if you could hear the little bips and bops and boops in there that sort of were like claps and hi-hats, but they were actually machine sounds. So that's what this pluck can do. It's what it's capable of. So let's get right down to making the sound. So go ahead, open up a new sound. Now I'm just going to treat this as if you've never made a pluck before. So the most important thing about a pluck is obviously the pluck. So what we want to do is we want to make an envelope that will that will make a pluck sound. I'll explain what that means. So come down here to this, it's right underneath the oscillator tab first, these blue tabs. They're called envelopes. So you click on this envelope and it will bring you to this volume envelope. What the volume envelope does is it controls the volume of whatever you apply it to. So also for reference note, Massive, for whatever reason, uses this as the default envelope. I don't know why it's not envelope 1, but in my experience, it's not envelope 1. So plucks have really high attacks, so we want to bring the attack way up. There are 2 levels, and what they do are different. We're going to leave this level right where it's at. This level controls the peak of the attack. Now this is the decay. This will control how long or short our attack is, and this level controls how loud that decay is. So if we had it all the way up and we push a note, it turns off. The decay gets cut off right here because this is the decay. This is something else that has to do with the morphing knob, so we're not going to touch that. So we're going to turn that level down all the way. So you have this. So we want our pluck to be a bit shorter than that, so we'll bring it in. Oh, I didn't apply to anything. All right, let's apply it to something real quick. So these envelopes can be applied to all these different, anything with a box. So we're going to grab our little crossbow. You click on this little crossbow right here, and you drag it over here. Now this is our oscillator. This generates our sound. So we're going to turn the amp. This is basically the volume. We're going to turn that down, and we're going to turn the effect all the way up by clicking and dragging on the effect. So you click and drag it, turn it all the way on. Oh, and you'll see now our pluck's like outrageously short. I don't even know if you can hear that. So we're going to take the decay and turn it off. Turn it out. See? And now you can choose how long you want your pluck to be. So now you know where to go. If you want to edit plucks, you just look for whatever numbers in this box. Go there and you can change those settings. So we're going to turn on the other oscillators. So these are off right now. We're going to click this button and it turns them on. And we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to turn these amps all the way down, this volume all the way down. And we're going to turn the, we're going to apply the envelope to them. And there you have it. You have a pluck. Now you know how to generally make a pluck. So the rest of it's pretty much effects and kind of picking and choosing what you want to do. So right off the bat, this right here, the pitch, is the pitch in intervals. So if you move it up 1, it moves up 1/2 step. So we'll turn these off real quick. Move it back down. So neat thing about Massive is you hold down Alt and drag up it'll instantly move it up 1 octave, which is the same note as 0, just an octave higher. So there you have that. So I went ahead and did that to, hold down Alt, drag up. I did that to oscillator 2 and oscillator 1. And so now we have this very nice sounding thing. So after that, I went ahead and I applied what's called a stepper. So what a stepper does is it plays a sequence of intervals based off your pitch or whatever you apply it to. So I'll explain what that means right now. So you come down here, back down to where our neat little envelope tabs are. Right here you see these LFO tabs. Well, you could click on one. It'll bring you to LFO. And this cool thing is they also are performer and stepper tabs. So go ahead and click on stepper. And you'll see this sort of grid thing pop up. Well, this will allow you to map the intervals. I'm not going to go over this in detail. Just I loaded a preset and I loaded power chord. So this is the preset for power chord. It's apparently a power chord interval. So what you do is you do the exact same thing we did with the envelope. You hit the crosshairs and we want to affect the pitch. So we put it right here underneath the pitch. And now you want to tell it which way to affect the pitch. So we want it to affect this octave, an octave worth of stuff. So that's what that does. Now if you hold down, if you click on your little crossbow and you hold down shift, you can drop it in multiple boxes. And you just click anywhere to get rid of it. And we're going to bring those up to 12 as well because we want our stepper to be in uniform. Now I know this is a pluck. Like, what are you going to do with a stepper? Well, we want our sounds to be very versatile. We want to be able to change them using these macro controls down here. We want to be able to automate these to create a variety of sounds. And so that's what this is going to let us do. We're going to have some other features. This could be a lead or whatever else you want it to be. So we're also going to, well, I'm going to cover that a little bit later. So now we're going to create a little bit of variation. So for the waveforms, you can just go through and pick a waveform that you like, pick a instrument. Oh, you'll notice the stepper is now working. I totally skipped that. So you'll hear that little whoop, 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 whoop sound at the end. If we take the envelope slightly off on these guys, you can hear it working. So we'll get to how to control that in a little bit because I realize that's not necessarily desired, especially if you just want to pluck. So what we're gonna do right now is we're going to apply what's called a sidechain. So the neat thing about Massive is they have these little SCs in all these different neat little places. Well, this is a sidechain. What it allows you to do is to control whatever's in a box next to it. So this sidechain right here, if we turn it on, you can push it up or down, and it will allow you to control the effect this parameter has on that. You say, well, why would you want to do that? Well, there are a variety of reasons. As you create sounds, you'll discover them. So we're going to go ahead and grab our macro control number 5 using the little crosshairs. We're going to drop it in oscillators 3's sidechain to our stepper. Then we're going to click the sidechain to turn it on. And we want it to be pointing up. What this means is when our macro control number 5 is all the way up, it will let it through. So I'll show you. So, oops, we want this off too. So if we turn it down, nada, doesn't work. So that is exactly what we want. Great, so that we can have those variations. So we're just going to call this sidechain. No, what did I call it on the other guy? In the patch that you could download. Oh, I just called it performer. It's not a performer, it's a stepper, but when you download it, I wasn't paying attention, named it performer. Performer. Oh, so that's that. Now we're going to create a bit of variation. We're going to deal with the sidechains now. I mean with the wavetables. So these are wavetables. They're basically a series of waveforms that you can scroll through to get a variety of sounds, and you load them by picking from these presets. This makes it a bit unpopular for some people because they kind of like to make their own wavetables. Serum can do that. It's a great plugin. But man, this is just how Massive works, so you just got to deal with it. So just by goofing around and basically trying out all of them, I came up with a few that I liked. I liked Bronze. It's right there. This one I liked Scrapyard. And on this one I liked Grown 3. So now it sounds like that. Now we're going to deal with that little boop, boop, boop sound because it is kind of annoying. So this we're gonna link our controller number 8. I realize this is obviously not the order I made it in if we're dealing with controller number 8, but this is just how I think it is effectively shown. So we're gonna link our controller number 8 to the amps, to the volumes of oscillator 1 and 2, and turn it all the way up. So now when our controller 8 is down, these are off. And when these are up, they're on. We're just going to move on. I'm not sure. I did discover that it's these guys that are still getting through. This knob's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So what we're going to do to solve this is we're just going to add a performer on both of these. So now there's a performer on both. And there you have it, all the way off. And so yep, so now you can control that. So let's go over here. Let's change the wavetables now. We want our sound to be more versatile. These are kind of just the positions I settled on, just out of pure whateverness. So please just use your own imagination. You don't even need to pick the same wavetables. In fact, I encourage you not to pick the wavetables that I picked, because it will be more unique and more personal to you. You'll be inspired. So now when we change number 4 around, which I just hooked up to all these, that's what you just saw me do, we're going to call it the waveform. Now when I play this, we'll get a variety of sounds. Very useful for editing during creating a track. We can automate that. So now we're going to go over here. We're going to add a high pass filter. So I chose high pass 4. I'm not sure what the big differences are on them, but I know they are there. I think one's takes its effect a bit faster. So I turn the cutoff all the way down and put the 3rd macro control on it, and I turn that all the way up, and I just name that high pass HP. Hit points. Just kidding, high pass. So as you play it, it'll now have fade ins and outs, so it can work on its own without the need of necessarily adding a whole nother effect on it. Now I did route all these. These things right here control what filter they go through. And I routed them all to just to filter 1. And this serial parameter parallel, I believe it's parallel. Serial makes it so it goes through filter 1 and then filter 2. And parallel, I believe, runs it through both. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to look at the manual again. So now you have that neat little pluck sound with a high pass thing affecting it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mess with the modulation. If any of you are familiar with FM8, this pretty much is like a tiny itty bitty FM8. So we're going to take this up to 12, hold down Alt, drag up. That's how you do that. And now we can ring mod and we can phase modulate. It's really cool. We can just do so much. So for this ring mod, I ring modded number 2 just through trial and error, discovered kind of what I wanted to do. And I turned that up to about there. And I phase modulated number 3. I turned it up about there. Now's not really a great time to talk about this, but it does cool things. So just stay tuned if you are interested in what this does in greater detail. So now you can see so we're starting to get somewhere. It's starting to look more and more like a sound we can use, starting to sound more and more like a sound. Now we're going to go into the inserts. So I used hard clipper. So you turn your insert on first of all, and you go to hard clipper. Now, over dry and wet, if you don't know, controls how much of the original signal is fed here, so how much is affected. And we're going to turn the drive all the way down. And we're gonna control it with macro number 7. We're going to turn that all the way up. So now, when we move macro 7, the drive will be affected. Now I also linked, as part of this little twangy end to the end of our pluck, I also linked that here a little bit. So when we move 7, It just creates a more of a timbral change. Timbre is sort of basically the sonic quality of the sound. You'll hear it used a lot in classical theory and music when they're talking about things like voicing, and especially when you're talking about playing the actual instrument, they'll get on musicians for not playing with the correct timbre sometimes. So I think that we're just going to call this drive, even though it's linked over there, because it's not like super important. And number 8 is oscillator 1 and 2. After you get all that done, there's just a few things left. Now, I did add a reverb. I used small reverb. Again, this was just trial and error. I am not the biggest fan of Massive's reverb at all. I think it's lame. I mean, sometimes I like it, but this is just not one of those times. But I wanted to use it in the track all by itself. So I did. I turned the size up. These are just settings I messed with. Like I told you, I wasn't very happy with it. I suggest using a plugin to add reverb in this particular scenario. Sometimes, the reverb sounds great. So I attached macro 2 to the dry wet, so the amount of reverb. So that controls the reverb. And as you can see, sometimes I leave them on about halfway. I mean, I leave them on in sort of middle positions because we don't want the reverb all the way off. Very rarely we want all the way dry. I mean, if you do, you generally have an idea of what you're doing. So you're going to come in here, you're going to turn that all the way off already. So we want a sound that we can just load up and play right away. So I think if people are going to add things, it's going to be additional reverb. So there's that. It's the reverb. Nothing much to it. Now this adds a delayed sync. We're going to add it. Well, I'm going to add a delayed sync. So this is really neat. I'm really quick going to explain what these do. So left and right, the speaker comes out of, or the headphone side comes out of, and then this is a ratio. So 4:1 means that, or 16, so there'll be one click and quarter notes. So this is, you can think of it as sort of like a time signature. 1/4, one click for every 4, one click every 4, how do I say this? There's a 4 beats and there's a click every beat. There you go. See? And if you move this down to 2, you get 8th notes and 1 ear. See? Oh, well, 2, it bounces back and forth. But we're going to move it down to 1, so because we want 16th notes. There you have it, 16th notes. And a delayed sync, the note always declines. It goes away. So that's what a delayed sync does. And we're going to turn this all the way off to dry wet because we want to be able to control this and turn it on and off because it will create a very versatile sound for us to use. And we're going to call this sync. And there you have it. I think we're just about done. This is pretty much everything I did. Oh, one other important thing. Oscillator restart gate. This starts all the oscillators on the same waveform. Very useful for a uniform sound. You can turn off and mess with it. Beware of phase cancellation. You don't want that. I'll cover this later if it comes up and people want to know. So that's what that does. And now you can make that track I made earlier. Sounds like sort of a hardstyle lead type thing. So yeah, so that's how you create a versatile sound using a simple plug. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know how I did. This is my first tutorial, and let me know what you'd like to know. I mean, I'd love to work on things that you would actually like to know about. Other than that, yeah, check out composinggloves.com. I'm a producer. Show me some love. Give me some listens. Let me know what you think of my tracks. If you're interested in how I made a particular sound. And my sample packs. I'm looking out for those new producers. I know when I found out that samples were like super awesome and great, especially if you don't know how to make them or you don't have a kick drum or something nearby that you can sample and get a great kick. Or if you don't own a mic, that's another problem, which ironically you can make music now without owning a mic. This generation is just crazy. So my sample packs are $5. I don't plan on changing the price anytime soon. If you like what you hear, I tried to make them as great as I could go, and they'll only get better as I continue to improve. So that's the sample. Once again, download in the description. It'll take you to composinggloves.com. It will be it'll take you to a checkout, but it will be $0. So, or you can pay for it if you want. I'll put a pay what you want option. And I mean, if you want to give me like 25 cents, you know, anything's appreciated. A buck more if you're cool. But I understand it's just a preset, so it's like whatever. So yeah, thanks for watching and have a blessed day.